much. Who has a vision for the way the world can be, the way the earth can be evolving? Who has a vision? I hope you have a vision. If you don't have one, get one. Because we live into our vision, we breathe into our vision, and we are the manifestors of that vision. And we know together today that love is the vessel that's going to get us there, yes? But so many times our head takes us a different direction, doesn't it? So I want to share a little bit. I got so excited. I was like a kid in a candy shop this week. I was sitting on my phone, and it's not a new epiphany. It's not a new revelation, but for me, it was at a deeper place. I was on my phone connected to people in the church, all at the same time connected with people in Georgia, elsewhere in Georgia. But I was talking also at almost the same instant with people in Oregon and in California, and actually connected with somebody completely overseas, and it was like, poosh. It blew my mind, that revelation, how connected we are. Not a new idea, but I was one button away from having an interaction of peace and of love and of harmony and well-being and compassion and generosity and all those good things that we celebrate. And I realized also that I was only one button away from an interaction where I was arguing with somebody, where I was tearing something down or inviting in a fight. And the reality is that hit my mind how important it is, the vibration that I am carrying. The vibration that I am holding in my heart is essential, not just to my immediate environment, but to the environment of the world. Yes, we teach. Every week we teach that we belong to each other. Yes, we're connected to each other in a great tapestry of life at a spiritual level. And it just hit me technologically. I'm a little slow learner, perhaps. It's like, wow. And I stopped, and I paused, and I had a moment of awe and wonder with that recognition. That all I have to do is put one thing out on my phone, one thing out in my life, in my phone or on my computer to the World Wide Web, and there can be hundreds and hundreds of interactions within minutes. What the human mind has created through technology is phenomenal, yes? The question I want to ask us today is how, has our heart kept up with our mind? Say that with me. Has our heart kept up with our mind? And this is a very sincere question I want to ask today. As new ideas emerge, this huge world that we live on, this beautiful home, this globe, seems to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's a good thing, right? If our hearts have kept up with our brains. If our hearts have kept up with the technology. I'm not sure that they have. Breathe. See, if anybody's here for the first time at Unity, we just like to call it out. There's a pink elephant in the room. We're just going to talk about it. And what you talk about, you can heal. What you feel, you can heal. And so we're going to talk about it. Has our heart kept up with our brain? You see, after the first epiphany and awe-inspiring revelation was a second emotion that hit me. And it was sadness. It was deep, deep sadness as I stared at my phone and the interactions that unfolded as a result of one word put out into the World Wide Web. And I had to ask myself the question, as the world is getting smaller and smaller, are our hearts getting smaller and smaller and smaller? And the evidence is there that perhaps the answer is yes. There's also the evidence there that perhaps the answer is no. But let's just recognize that through technology, people of all races, classes, religions, and continents now know that we are financially, emotionally, mentally, and technologically connected to each other. And such globalization through the mind brings incredible blessings. Yes, shared resources, shared visions, faster communication, and faster problem solving. But it's also brought a greater sense of competition. That closeness has brought a greater sense of friction and ideologies that clash. Anybody ever go to a family reunion when you're in a great big giant area and everybody gets along? And that same family reunion in a small house, suddenly that which is hidden no longer can be hidden. It's coming up to be looked at. And as the world is getting smaller, things are bubbling up. Chemicalization is happening within us individually and collectively that we have to look at what's going on at the level of our heart. That our mind has made the world so expansive and also so small at the same time. That which needs to be addressed is right in our face. It's brought a greater sense of competition, friction, control. Anybody got a control issue besides me? As ideologies clash, opinions bump up against each other, there's a great family reunion happening, folks. It's the family reunion of humanity. And our hearts are becoming more protected, protective, and closed, rather than more open and receptive. Have you noticed that? There's evidence. And to not look at that evidence is an injustice to the right, to the blessing that we have as spiritual beings to be the conduit for change on the planet. So we're going to look at that a little bit today. As fear rises to the surface, we get to consciously choose to work with the fear or to unconsciously pretend it's not there and let it control us. I've got a control issue, so I'm not going to let fear control me. We're going to talk about it. Terrorism, racism, attack, ideological fighting and war is a byproduct of a very unskilled way of dealing with this intimacy. The more intimate we get with each other, the more possibility there is going to be for tension created by the mind. Psychology and religion have done an amazing job of bringing mindfulness to the surface. How many people have a practice of mindfulness in your spiritual path? You should have one. This is a very Buddhist practice. It's also a part of the unity movement, and it is absolutely essential, and it's a good thing. And New Thought has absolutely capitalized on this idea of mindfulness. As we've learned to create, to manifest, to invent, to discover, and to innovate. The world that we see as we see it today is an example of what we teach. What was created here then shows up here. This is the portal through which manifestation happens. We have to see it in mind first before it shows up on the earth. And that's a wonderful and great thing. But today I don't want to talk about mindfulness. We seem to have a corner on the market of mindfulness. I want to talk about heartfulness. Say that with me. Heartfulness. Take your hand and put it on your heart. Take a breath with me. Heartfulness. A fullness of heart where compassion and kindness and understanding and oneness are walking side by side with the competition we find ourselves in. Kindness with accomplishment and technology and power. You know, I often like to say, and anybody who's come to my office, I say, yes, follow your heart. Follow your heart. I say this at the board level a lot. Follow your heart, but for God's sake, take your brain. Today, I think in the world that I see today is I've had it kind of backwards a little bit. And I want to reverse that. Let's go ahead and put the next slide up there. Follow your brain, but for God's sake, take your heart. Together. Follow your brain, but for God's sake, take your heart. Am I the only one that's found themselves following my brain, letting my ego, letting my mind, letting my teaching, my past, my present, my experience, and my judgment drive things forward to create, only to realize that my heart is 15 steps behind me, and I forgot that love is what I am. I forgot to bring who I am and what I am into the arena as the mind is going crazy, and I think that's happened on the planet. I think it's happened on the planet, but there's a solution. That's the good thing is there's a solution to it. We can look at the problem. We don't poke the whale. We do something about getting the whale back into the ocean so that we can return to the Garden of Eden. We can return to the divine essence of who we have always been, a fullness of heart where compassion leads. You know, there's a lot of talk on the planet, have you noticed, about artificial intelligence? We're all talking about it, and there's a lot of fear up. Technology is pushing artificial intelligence, and I've been accused of using artificial intelligence myself. I've known some people that I swear it was manufactured intelligence, it's not real. But I'm more concerned that we have inadvertently created an artificial capacity to accept, to honor, and to respect each other. I believe that the human race has created an artificial way of respecting and loving and being kind and being compassionate as we respect ourselves. Let's read this together. The eventual destiny of humanity will depend on our ability to love each other more authentically and vulnerably. The closer we become as cells within the body of the one essence that is light, that is love, that is God, that is life, the more we have to accept and honor and respect each other. And I believe we're at the precipice. And we can go either way. And I'm saying we as a community need to answer the call to drop down, to take that little journey from here to here. Before I speak, let me drop down. The art of the interrupt The art of the pattern interrupt. Every religion has it. Take a breath with me. And let it go. What would it be like if we took a breath before we opened our mouth? You've been there too. What would it be like if we took that breath and made that journey, that short little journey from here to here, before we took an action? Before we hit the button and responded to the meme on Facebook that you don't agree with? Before you put it out there into the World Wide Web and then ripples on the pond, it creates more of what you're putting into the universe. What would life be like if we were to drop down into that place? I think it'd be a lot more beautiful place. It's a planet I envision. It's that harbor. The song talked about the harbor. Love is going to be the vessel that's going to get there. Not thinking more things up. And that's going to be hard because in the unity movement, we're all about the power of the mind to manifest. I'm saying there's a power greater than the mind, and it is the heart to manifest something more profound. Tempe was sharing earlier today in the first service that at one point in her life, she had to make a decision between her heart and a job that would have made her a millionaire today. And she chose love. And she said, had I chosen power and money and technology over love, I never would have met the love of my life, Jody. And if ever there was two people that could never love each other more than they love each other, it's Tempe and Jody. And we celebrate that. That's the pins. That's the dialogues we're having. And they're going to share their story on Wednesday night. But the reality is love is more powerful, and they are more prosperous than they would have been as millionaires. They're wealthy in every possible area. They go on trips. I'm jealous. I want to go on the beach. I'm going to go to the beach with these two and experience love. You see, this collusion has less to do with institutions and everything to do with our personal awareness and consciousness. What's going on here, but more importantly, what's going on here? Put your hands on your heart with me and ask yourself the question, what's going on here? Together? As expansion happens on our planet, there must also be a commitment to a great personal unraveling. Unraveling of the old structures, the old paradigms, the old thoughts, the old belief systems, the old feelings that are keeping us from being vulnerable and transparent and open enough to love, even when the person on the other side of the table is showing up in a way that you don't like. Do me a favor. On the count of three, I want you to call out three names of people you love with your whole heart. People, when you think of the word love, these three people come to mind, and shower them with love in this moment. And don't do it halfway. Yell it out. 1, 2, 3. Doesn't that feel good? And there's smiles in the room. Now I want you to think of the same three other people. Three other people that it's really hard for you to love, and I want you to transmute that energy. In the Buddhist practice, there's a thing called Tonglen, where you take energy in and you transmute it. I'm asking you to take the love that you just felt as you mentioned Bob and Harry and Alice and Tempe and Jody. Yes. And then take the three people where you have put separation between you and them. Call their name out with the same amount of passion and love. 1, 2, 3. Could you feel the energy? I did hear somebody say nobody. There's nobody. You know what we teach in this community is that the exact distance you put between you and anybody else is the exact distance between you and God. The exact distance that you put between yourself and anybody is the exact distance between you and love, the love that you seek. You're not going to get to the destined harbor at the other end, where it's a world of peace and harmony and love, if you have put anybody out of your heart. Put any situation, any person, any condition out of your heart. Now I'm going to ask you again. Get in touch. Put your hands here. Feel it. This is the essence of who we are. You were created in and after the likeness of love itself. And so was everybody else on the planet. And if you want to heal the planet, you've got to take those three people that I'm going to ask you to call out one more time and surround them in love. Surround them in a possibility of love. 1, 2, 3. So obviously, there's nothing easy about this. Many of us are walking around like lawyers, and we have our evidence. Let me plead my case about why this person is not the face of God. And we're standing before the judge, the great judge, which is the human ego, and we're pleading our case where somebody does not belong. Yes, I love everybody, just not them. I'm sorry. That's spiritually immature. Let's just call it out. You cannot make exceptions to where you find the face of God. Say that, make it personal together. I cannot make exceptions to where I find the face of God. We have to look with deeper eyes. Not the eyes of the brain or the ego, but the eyes of the heart. I cannot and will not make exceptions, no matter your behavior, to finding the presence of God. I always teach in the new members class, pay unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Yes, people will pay the consequences of their actions, but pay unto God what is God's. I will never give up my ability to see something deeper beneath the surface. And you can only see it when looking at the level of the heart. And that means unraveling the blocks and the structures and the walls that we have put into place. Unraveling it. It has nothing to do with religion. Take religion out of the equation. Has nothing to do with technology and what's on the phone and the possibility of what you can do with that phone. It's merely a tool. And it has more to do with our ability to be as heartful as we are mindful. Say this together. This unraveling has less to do with religion and technology and more to do with our ability to be as heartful as we are mindful. Breathe that in. It's what Jesus talked about when he said, love one another as I have loved you. Forgive your debtors as they forgive you, or something like that. Forgive those people who have harmed you as they forgive you in the ways that you have harmed them. So how did Jesus love? He's our great example. He's the elder brother. He is the way shower. How did he love? Unconditionally. Yes? How else? Come on. What's that? Totally. Did someone say publicly? Yes, he did love publicly. He spoke up. He spoke out. He stepped in. He stepped back. He stepped forward. He stepped sideways. He loved. He went beyond the man-made borders and boundaries. And we are living in a lot of borders right now. A lot of people will tell you, here are the people that we hate, here are the people that we love. And we walk lockstep like a lemming over the cliff. And this is what's happening with humanity because we're accepting the norms. Jesus, as our example, crossed the borders. He got through man-made constructs and doctrines and beliefs and cultures and basically said what we say every week, we belong to each other. Say it with me. We belong. Jesus was born on the planet at the right time, to be the right consciousness, to be the right energy, to help us remember the long-forgotten truth that we belong to each other. You belong to them. The haves and the have-not, the sheeps and the goats, it's the biggest misinterpretation of what's going on. The sheeps and the goats are in your mind. The goats are here, gnashing of teeth, burning in hell. That's an ego construct. The heart says they're all sheep. They all belong. They all deserve my love. Yes? They all deserve to belong. Jesus came to let us know we had forgotten this truth, and we are called to follow his example. I believe we are at the same critical crossroads that we were 2,000 plus years ago. That humanity, where it stands today, is at the same crossroads. There has been an incredible forgetting. Anybody ever forget as you get on and you start responding on Facebook, on Instagram, or any of these other things that young people do? There's a great forgetting. And guess what? We as the light, as the Buddha, as the Christ, as the expression of heartfulness are called to create the great remembering. To be the great remembering. Let's say this together. There's been a great forgetting, and we are called to create the great remembering. A remembering that's going to come through our heart and not through our head. Plain and simple. Yes, technology, I'm going to acknowledge those people online because sometimes they say I ignore them. I'm acknowledging you. This technology allows us to connect, so we use the brain as the tool to connect at the level of the heart with every one of you online. We are connected. The title of the message today is The Heart of the Matter. There's nothing really profound about it today. Nothing, earth-shattering. But what are some synonyms for the heart of the matter? I love synonyms. I love language. It's the substance, the gist, the core, the fundamentals, the essence, the basics, the soul, the root, and I'm a country boy, the meat and potatoes. The bottom line, the brass tacks, the nuts and bolts, the essential part. In essence, it's the most important thing. Hand on your heart again. And I want you to say after me, this is the most important thing. Is it really? This is more important than my job. This is more important than being right. This is more important than having the right solution and answer. This is more important than the relationship. This is more important than the church. This is more important than anything that is in my life. That puts it at the top of the priority list. So once again, this is the most important thing. Together, this. And I choose to remember. Now, that's kind of easy to do. You can go into your room by yourself. Isn't it easier to find love when you're alone? I want you to take your hand and just find somebody in the room. And I want you to beam your energy to their heart. I want you to feel their heart. Find somebody. And they may not even be looking at you. That's okay. Because they don't have to cooperate for love to have its way. Take that energy, send it to somebody, and say, that's the most important thing. And I will not forget. All right, now, this might be a little harder. Picture one of those three people that you went about. Put their energy on somebody else in the room and beam to them the heart space again. Connect here and here. So you represent somebody in that moment that maybe rubs me the wrong way. This is the most important thing. Together. And I will not forget. And I will remember. Jesus was asked what the most important commandment was. What is it? Who knows it? Bible scholars. Love God with your heart, your soul, your mind. And the second is just like the first, because Jesus absolutely understood that God and humanity are one. So it's love your neighbor as yourself. Say it together. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, Jesus lived from a very delicate balance of head and heart. He had to be in his brain. He had to use his mind to change the paradigm that was on the planet at the point. But he also used his heart. He used strength and compassion. He used wisdom and love. And he dealt with a great deal of competition and a great deal of challenge. But at the end of the day, he was clear. Love is more important than fear. Love is more important than power. Love is more important than control. Love is more important than money and possessions. Yes, it is. Go ahead and clap if you want to clap. Come on, put some love into those hands. Today, let me emphatically say that love is more important than technology and advancement. Getting ahead, winning. Love is more important than any of that. And until we get that, we're on a road over the cliff like a lemming and allowing that phone to rule us, that computer to rule us, and our need to be right as we lambast somebody online is more important. I'm saying put love at the top of the priority list. Yes? I have never once seen the painting, Michelangelo didn't do it, Leonardo didn't do it, of Jesus sitting behind a computer. And I never saw a picture of Jesus with a cell phone in his hand up to his ear. Yet Jesus, our way shower, our elder brother, and our master teacher, knew that love was essential to keeping the awareness of oneness open. Love was essential to our awareness that we belong to each other, to not forgetting, to remembering. And how did he do it? He dropped down into the heart. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Call him up and tell him what you want. It's right here. He dropped down. He went apart for a while to get into his heart and to check out of his mind, to check out of his brain, to check out of his ego. Yes, Jesus had an ego. He was a human being like you and me, and yet he went to the deeper place, the place of his heart. You know, we often say before we act, I don't know if you've done this ever, let's check in with headquarters. A lot of Unity students say that. Let's check in with headquarters. And what do? Every Unity person, unconsciously, let's check in with headquarters. I've not seen anybody ever go, let's check in with headquarters. We don't do that because there's an organic, natural instinct to know that this is where life is contextualized. This is where life will be expanded. This is where love lives and resides, and your spirit and your soul resides. Yet we are operating from here too long, and it's time to change it. Take a breath. The art of the interrupt. Drop down. The art of the pause. Drop down before I speak. How many people have heard of heart math? I spent some time running a foster home in Boulder Creek, California, where heart math is. I wish I had known I was 10 minutes away from it, because the work that they are doing on the intelligence of the heart is tremendous. This is what Deborah Rosman had to say. She was once the president. Is that big enough for you guys to read? I'm going to look at my notes because it's not big enough for me to read right there. She said this: together, although the heart and brain are in constant communication, we can intentionally direct our heart to communicate to our brain and body in beneficial ways. When we experience sincere, positive emotions, such as caring, compassion, or appreciation, the heart processes these emotions, and the heart's rhythm becomes more coherent and harmonious. Pause there. What does your heart feel like? What is going on when it is congruous? When it is congruous and harmonious and in integrity with itself? What's the energy? What's the emotion?
Love, joy, peacefulness.
Peacefulness, all of the above. Love, peacefulness, joy, happiness, compassion, giving, generosity. All those things are living here. They don't live in here. This will tell you, I've got to get my own. I've got to build up for myself a treasure on heaven, because I got to get mine, because there isn't enough to go around. So I take mine. We were talking about a pie first service, and the reality is we're so afraid someone's going to take our piece of the pie that we live up here, and not only do we take and store our piece of pie in a barn, we take somebody else's. And Jesus clearly told us, don't store up your treasures on earth. That pie is going to disintegrate and get moldy. In heaven, he's saying, drop down to the heart space. Where did he say heaven resides? Within us. It is at hand. It is not some destination because you were a good boy or a good girl. It's a breath away from that pattern interrupt to remembering this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing. Say that with me again. This is the most important thing. The last line of there, this information is sent to the brain and the entire body, neurologically, biochemically, biophysically, and energetically. It's getting a message. Your body is healthier when you drop down here. Your life is healthier when you drop down here. Your brain is smarter when you drop down here, because the communication is going this direction, not this direction. The song that we sang at the beginning of the service was based on a book by Raphael Kushner that really changed my life. It was called Setting Your Heart on Fire. And in that book, Kushner gives 6 invitations to help us get to the place of heartfulness. I want to do that right now. Number 1, say it with me. Feel everything. First invitation is to love yourself enough to let yourself feel everything. Don't push away that which you think is not positive, that which is not in alignment with unity. It's all in alignment with unity. You're a spiritual being and a human being all at the same time. Feel it. It's the most important thing. Now be careful, because you also then have to say, you get to feel everything too. You get to have your experience. You get to have your feelings, and I will honor it, because the most important thing is we connect at the level of a heart. Feel everything. Number 2, together, question everything. I'm asking you today to question every judgment you've ever made about anybody or anything. Those 3 people that you went, I want you to question your judgment about that person, because you're looking with these eyes, not these eyes. You're looking with this energy and not this energy. Yes, pay unto Caesar. Things are not really in congruity with love in that behavior, but beneath the surface there's a greater energy going on. There's a greater truth going on, and we need to nurture that garden, water that garden, to tend that part of them and not the part that's maybe misbehaving. So question every judgment you've ever made about anyone or anything. Step back and set it aside and look with the eyes of love. Number 3, together, resist nothing. Oh, there's the hard one. We teach in Unity that which you resist will persist. Yes? You keep pushing against something, it's got something to push back against. If you don't resist, the pushing stops. This is how war happens. This is how peace happens. I don't give you anything to fight back on because love is malleable and flexible and forgiving. So I'm asking you to stop complaining, stop blaming, stop denying, not from a Pollyanna aspect, but it's not serving the whole of humanity. You're blaming, you're shaming, you're complaining, you're denying. Stop fighting, stop defending anything, because this is clearing the path for love, and that cannot be done at this level. It has to be done here. Take your hand on your heart. This is the most important thing. Together. Fourth invitation. Together. Live like you're dreaming. Let your imagination go crazy. You have to see the harbor that Tempe sang about. You have to see it. It has to, everything in this world's created twice. First in mind and then in reality. Let your mind go crazy. Take I can't out of your narrative. I can't love that person you just asked me to speak. Well, that's giving all the power to that person. It's giving all the power to the experience and not to the God essence of love doing business as you. Take I can't out of your narrative. Take the word impossible out of your vocabulary. Love has no boxes, no excuses, no ifs, no ands, no buts to what love can do. Do you believe that? Yes. Do we really believe that? It feels good sitting in this room, but can I go out of this room and into my life and meet those 3 people or those 30 people or 300 people and know there are no ifs, no ands, no buts? I will be the temple of love. I will be the vibrating center of a higher and deeper awareness and vibration and truth. That's what we are called to do. To stop complaining about why the world's falling apart. Turn the other cheek, look a different way, and be love. And express love and find love, because it is the most important thing. And it's the only thing that's going to sustain this. Number 5, together, love like you're dancing. I love that. How many people know Rumi, the great Sufi poet? Let's put the next one up. Let's put his quote up there. Let's read Rumi's Intelligence from the Heart. Together, dance when you're broken open. Dance if you've torn the bandage off. Dance in the middle of the fighting. Dance in your blood. Dance when you're perfectly free. That's kind of graphic, isn't it? Let love dance in you, around you, through you, but most importantly, let love dance as you. I asked you to speak some names and I could tell we were tearing the bandage off. Ooh, I've got to look at that. Yes, you have to look at that. Because if you're keeping a distance between you and anybody else, that's the exact distance between you and the healing of the world that we see today. The exact distance between you and God. The exact distance between you and love. Number 6, I'm going to invite the band to come back up. Number 6, let's read it together. Finally, widen your world. As technology widens our reach and the world gets bigger and smaller, let us widen our hearts. As the mind widens the connection, everybody okay? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We're in the land of Oz. The great and powerful Will Hodge. As the mind widens the connection, let us love more deeply, more readily, more passionately, more regularly. Let love lead the way, because it's the most important thing. Intentionally, yes, connect via technology. And so I give you homework. We do homework in this church. When you pick up that phone or you get on that computer and you start to send a text or a response or a meme, let love lead the way. Stop, pause, breathe, and let love write the words. Share the meme of love and comment on posts from a place of love, because it's the most important thing.